This is Six Tackles with Gus, with Matthew Thompson and Gus Gould.
Hi there, welcome to Six Tackles with Gus, looking ahead to round 20 of the competition and just a little bit happening in the great game of rugby league. No pot of gold at the end of Manly's rainbow jersey. Should we brush the bunker for the games remaining this year that have no impact on the finals? Some judiciary drama, and Kevin Proctor's raised the bar in terms of rugby league stupidity. I've got a good trivia question for Gus today as well. Just a little bit going on in our wonderful game of rugby league.
It's the game that keeps on giving, Matthew.
It does, doesn't it?
God bless rugby league.
Yeah.
The game that just keeps on giving. Just when you think you've seen it all and heard it all, hold my beer. I'll show you something different.
We've decided to bring a few props in this week. And Murray, who looks after our digital content here, he's trying to suck up to you. He's bought the two jerseys you would have worn.
All right. It's
Well,
the old
two of
Smith's
them,
Chris.
yeah. I wore that one at the start of the year.
Penny Panthers. Nice.
Oh, but before we get into the serious stuff, I was driving into work today. I don't know whether you saw the same thing on a lot of the light poles around the North Sydney area, because we're in the North Sydney council area here at Channel 9 in Sydney. A lot of North Sydney Bears flags on top of the light poles. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Is that James Bracey?
James Bracey at his best.
Do you know how much of the budget that would have cost the North Sydney club?
I don't know.
Would have been quite expensive, I would have thought.
It would have. I think they're very serious.
Yeah.
They're very serious about being the 18th team. James actually got me to meet with their chairman
I beg your pardon?
some time ago, just to have a chat about his journey and where they've come from, what they're doing. I think they're still canvassing people in the media to get their gauge on the way things are.
Yeah.
But they're still determined they won't die, the North Sydney Bears, nor should they. What a great old club they were.
I can see the headline out of today's podcast.
I
Gould linked with North Sydney Bears coaching job.
No. It wasn't like that. It was just that I'm in clubland and I've been in it for a while, and how do I view this? And I obviously remember the North Sydney Bears. I used to love going to North Sydney Oval, sitting up in the balcony there and watching the footy.
Did you see much of Ken Irvine?
No, I didn't.
Before your
No,
time?
it was a little bit before my time.
Yeah.
I saw some old grainy black and white vision of him, but that's about all.
When did Ken Irvine retire?
I don't know.
It's amazing that, like, when you consider how many games players are able to play these days, like we're seeing a lot more and more 300 gamers, for instance, that Ken Irvine in his career could still be the leading try scorer in the game.
Yeah, and playing much less games, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Incredible. He was...
Died in 1990.
Yeah, he was an incredible athlete. I mean, he was Olympic class athlete.
73 retired. 176 games for North Sydney, 60 for Manly, 236 games for 212 tries.
Yeah.
That's good going, isn't it?
Pretty fair record, isn't it?
All right, let's start with the jersey drama. I don't know where to start. And I've got to say, I don't feel all that comfortable talking about matters like this, but I suppose it's the biggest issue in rugby league.
You've got sexuality, you've got religion, you've got human rights. I mean, where can you go wrong trying to talk about it?
Yeah, I know.
You're going to upset someone. And everyone who talks at it, everyone who wants to talk or comment about this, including myself, you don't want to upset anyone.
No.
You don't want to inadvertently say the wrong thing that's going to have someone blow up about it. People get offended by everything these days, but... it's an unfortunate situation for the Manly club and for the game and for the players and the people involved. And I really felt for Des Hasler yesterday as he eloquented his talk. He's talked to the public and he's talked through the media yesterday, that he was just trying to encompass everything and say, look, we didn't mean for this to happen. We didn't mean for this to happen. And I think everyone understands that. But a little bit of oversight here and a little bit of miscommunication there, or non-communication, and this is what happens in today's world. And
yeah.
No one was out to offend anyone. Everyone was out to support everyone, but that's just the minefield you walk these days, unfortunately.
Well, let's grab a little bit of what Des had to say at the press conference.
I'm reminded of Gandhi's quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." I truly hope that the communities, the NRL, our players and our staff who have caused confusion and pain can accept our apology. The players will not play on Thursday. and we accept their decision. These young men are strong in their beliefs and convictions, and we will give them the space and the support they require. The playing group are solid and understanding of each other's views. As a club, we will wear the jersey on Thursday night.
Okay, so it's Women in League Round, actually, and so the Manly Club, their thinking behind this was to take that a step further and make it everyone in League Round, and to turn those usual white stripes on the Manly jersey into rainbow stripes. So it was something driven by the marketing department, and within hours of it being announced, Christian Tuipulotu, Hamoli Olakawatu, Jason Saab, Josh Aloye, Josh Schuster and Toff Sipley all said that they weren't comfortable and didn't want to play in that jersey on religious grounds. Now, I guess the first thing I'll ask you, Gus, if it was something that was going to happen at your club, where would consulting the players sit on your list of?
Yeah, look, man, I don't want to go there. I don't want to.
Okay.
I don't want to be used as a source as what would have I done differently in my club, because I don't want to be throwing rocks or stones at anyone for this, and it's a delicate subject and it's hard. And what I urge you to do is just to feel the care and the pain in Des Hasler's voice as he tries to make that and include everyone, and not be seen as excluding or not respecting someone's beliefs or their religion or their rights or their sexuality or their personality, whatever it is that it is. I would say this was done with all good intention. But without the cultural awareness of what the ramifications might have been. And, for those players, my journey with Pacific Island people, and we're going through cultural awareness here at Channel 9, as you know, learning more. Prior to the Pacific Test this year, we've actually got people in, and we've been through that in rugby league for the last 20 years. And that's what we deal with because of the predominance of Pacific Island people in our game. And to the Pacific Island people, their spirituality and their religion is a central component of their life. It's a central component of their well-being. And that's what the Pacific Island kids for a long time were so humble, so respectful. They rarely spoke up. They never challenged authority. They never promoted themselves. They didn't tell you their problems. They didn't communicate very well because it was a part of their culture and a part of their nature not to question authority figures or not to do whatever. And I'm still learning about it myself. And I've been involved with it for 25, 30 years. And I can tell you the history of, the Pacific Island emergence in our game and how dominant it is today. But this is just an unfortunate situation where non-communication has led to an unexpected result, and now it becomes a public debate. And once you start to publicly debate about religions and expectations and inclusivity and exclusivity, it's a minefield. So when I say this, when you make a change to a jersey in any respect, and I'll stand corrected on this if I'm wrong, but when you make any sort of change to a jersey, if I wanted to put a brown dot in the middle of that Penrith jersey right there and change the nature of the jersey, it's got to be approved by the NRL. So whatever Manly did, I would imagine to make the changes to their jersey, whether it was the manufacturer's idea, whether it was a marketing idea, whether it was a promotional idea, whether it was a cause idea. People come to you with all sorts of things because they want to use rugby league as a platform for community engagement. They want to use rugby league and the profile of rugby league to send messages and to help people. And we do it in so many ways. Governments, corporates, charities, special causes, social causes. Rugby league, because of its profile and because of the people and the demographic it can reach, is an important platform for community engagement. So people come to clubs with these ideas all the time. And if it means a change to your playing strip to bring awareness to this cause, it's got to be approved by the NRL. You can't just change your jersey and run out in a different colour this week. It's actually all got to be approved by the NRL. You've got to tell them what jerseys you're playing in, why. And that's a long process. That doesn't happen in a week.
No, that's right.
That happens over months, if not 12 months earlier, because you've got to deal with sponsors, you've got to deal with, the makeup of the jersey and the manufacturers and get them manufactured in time. So I can only imagine this has been boiling away in the background for some time, right? And it's gone to the NRL, and even no one at the NRL has flagged that, have you communicated with all the players and everyone else in the club? So they, again, that's another failure in cultural awareness, all right? But what we have here is a player, these Pacific Island players, and you'll see it, it's coming out in our game more and more. prayer circles before and after the game with players on both sides. The tattoos that they wear, the scriptures that they have tattooed onto their body, their hand signs. When you see some of the kids interviewed after the game, the first thing they do is thank their God and thank, blessed they are to be here, and you can see it in the things that they do when they score tries. It's a part of they're coming out of themselves more and more. They're now saying they don't want to play for Australia. They want to play for their island. Even they might have been born here. They still identify as Pacific Island people. So they're coming out more and more, releasing their identity and their character and feeling more comfortable amongst us. And in the discussions we've had with the cultural awareness group that comes in, how important that is to them. Even the way you pronounce their name.
Yeah, that's right.
Even the way you pronounce where they came from. And this is to their extended family. This is a respect to their elders and their in generations. It's all a matter of respect for them, and this is very, very big, very, very big in the Pacific Island community. It is a respectful thing, and it's born a lot of it out of the spirituality and the direction they get from their religion. Now, if you want to sit here and start arguing about religion,
I shan't be doing that.
We can't be doing that, all right? But
I guess the only thing I wonder...
That's where they are. And all it is that there are just cross purposes here, and you don't want to exclude anyone, you want to support everyone, you want to be respectful to everyone, and in this case, it looks like to do that, Manly are going to be a weakened football team this Thursday night, and the game is going to learn a hell of a lot of a lesson. That's an unfortunate result. Well, it's good in some ways because it's raised awareness to the issues again, but it's bad in another way because it's going to cost Manly potentially 2 points on Thursday night. Maybe they'll rally, maybe they don't. I don't know, but I would have liked to have seen the thing resolved to some extent. But everyone's kind of no one's going to stop what they're doing. They've just had to agree to disagree, and away they go.
I guess the concern is...
Have I handled that without upsetting anyone?
No, you have. And look, I've tied myself in knots wondering how we're going to talk about this today because there'll be a lot of people listening to the podcast and watching the vodcast to see what you have to say about it. I just wonder, though, if you talk about the prominence of Pacifica people or Pacifica players in the game, and it's grown year on year exponentially and will continue to, if the league... wants to continue its push towards inclusiveness, and that which is great. If what's happened this week is emblematic of what's going to happen going forward, where do we reach a compromise here? I mean, they were talking. I saw yesterday some comments saying that the league might have an inclusiveness round next year. Well, if 7 of the Manly team have dropped out this week, what are we going to do? How do we find a compromise?
Through education, communication. That's what you have to do. There's no other way around it. But you're not going to change religion, mate. And that's what it is, and you've got to respect.
No, but I'm just thinking.
You've got to respect
I'm
that
just
part
thinking,
of it. And respecting their religion. That is not their intended disrespect for anything else they were trying to promote. You understand what I mean?
No, I do.
Right, but if we're looking for equality and inclusiveness of all these things we're talking about, some of it is going to be at cross purposes eventually. And that's the difficulty of it. It's even the difficulty talking about it. It's unfortunate, but it's a lesson for our game again about the communication and the conversations they've got to be having, because if you get it at the last minute, this is what happens. It's I don't know how you could have avoided this situation. I don't know if it would have been different if they'd have collaborated with the players. I don't know if the promotion would have gone ahead if they did. I don't know. That's all, that's all now, guesswork. But this is what's happened. We can see why it's happened. We can see how many people it's hurt and what that's allowed now with public comment. We just need to get through this and then work on the communication and the togetherness going forward. Our game is a diverse, multicultural game now. It's totally different to what it was 40 years ago. And I've been on that journey for the 40 years. I've seen it. I've witnessed it every day. I can remember going to my football club at the time. I said, because I saw it coming through in the schoolboy football and everything. So we need to talk about religion. Why? Well, because I'm telling you, this is going to be something we have to accommodate in the game, because some people are and some people aren't. That's just a fact of life. but we need to be respectful of all races, of all religions, of all what have you, irrespective of what that means.
Okay, we might leave that there.
Did any of that make sense?
No, it does, but it's a hard thing to talk about.
It is, and I feel really sorry for the Manly club. I feel sorry for the game, and I feel sorry for those players that have had to be put into this position where, for them it's respective of their religion, of their heritage, of their elders, of their extended family. This spirituality is so important to them that there's no compromise for them. This is not, that's just how it is. But to do that, you're going to upset someone.
All right. Speaking of upsetting people, Sharks forward Dale Finucane has warned teams may be forced to re-evaluate their defensive strategies after he was banned for 2 matches over a head clash that left Panthers centre Stephen Crichton requiring plastic surgery for a split ear. Corey Waddell was suspended too, but we'll get to that one secondly. Bob Lindner and Dallas Johnson were the player representatives on the judiciary panel. They found Finucane guilty of a Grade 2 dangerous contact charge after determining the way in which he shot out of the defensive line to tackle Crichton last Saturday night was dangerous and carried an unacceptable risk of injury. Finucane claimed he was the first player suspended for a head clash and said the decision of the judiciary panel would set a precedent for future tackles. He said, I'm obviously disappointed with the outcome, and while I empathise with Stephen over the outcome and the laceration to his ear, it has set a precedent for our game moving forward. I was quite surprised with the outcome, given it was an accidental offence, and given that our game hasn't seen anything sanctioned before for an accidental head clash. 2 weeks for a head clash. Wasn't even penalised during the game. We're going into uncharted waters here now.
All right. Well, the first thing I'll throw up, if Stephen Crichton wasn't injured, if his ear wasn't split, it was just a heavy collision and both players got up, do you think we'd have heard of this again?
No.
Therefore, it's the split ear that's made the difference. So if he hits him 3 centimetres to the left or the right, hasn't got a split ear, do you think we're really hearing about this at all?
We've seen a huge number of head clashes this year.
Have we not seen instances like that the whole time? Can I take you back to the first 3 minutes of Origin this year?
Yes.
Right? People inserting their authority in defence and people coming out of the line because they can read the play of the opposition or trying to assert authority or dominance or to get dominant tackles and everything that the game demands of us and the things that we expect out of the game has been thrown into total turmoil through this ridiculous interpretation, this ridiculous decision. And I don't know who's behind it because you couldn't possibly get a number of people together in one room to agree on this. That this was somehow something that should be suspended or taken out of our game. You have totally changed the dynamic of our game if people can't come out of the line and hunt down opposition players that are carrying the ball one out and trying to assert authority for your team. That's what our game is.
Yeah.
It's an accidental one. It's one that's gone wrong. He might have done this hundreds of times. They say it wasn't his normal tackling style. Well, give me an example of that. He's knocked himself out. How many times has Dale Finucane knocked himself out in making tackles? Now, if Finucane knocked himself out and Crichton got up, would we have been hearing about this? Of course not. And to say this, that the decision to rush out of the line was careless and it was not standard technique to make first contact is absolute ridiculous. That's just made up. That is made up for the occasion. I'm sorry. That has just been fabricated for the occasion. Absolutely fabricated for the occasion. I cannot believe that you could accuse someone of that.
You're one of the most esteemed coaches the game's had, Gus. Did you coach your forwards to rush out of the line and put pressure on oppositions?
If they could. Every meter's important. Crichton's a dangerous player. It doesn't matter if it's a big forward, a halfback or whatever. If you can read the play and you can hunt him down, go and get him. That's what the game's all about.
What about the scoreboard? They were trailing by, was it 4 points or something?
You're trying to assert authority. That's what your forwards want to do.
Game in the last few minutes. It was trying to force a mistake.
Yeah, well, we just had an Origin series with 3 sensational games. Let's go back and count the number of times that people raced out of the line and tackled someone. Let's go to the videos of all the games during the year and look at the number of times people race out of the line to hit someone and tackle someone.
That's what
and out of all of those, every now and then we get a head clash. Every now and then it's the bloke making the tackle that gets hurt. Because if you come out and do it on Tavita Pangai, you come out and do it on Taumalolo, you might get knocked out yourself. But that's the game. That's the game we accept to play. That's the players that play this game. That's the risk that they understand. This unnecessary risk. We play knowing the risk. We play knowing the physicality. We play know that accidents happen. I don't know where this leaves the game now. I don't know where this leaves the defenders now. To think that I could race up and make a tackle, and if I have a head clash and he gets hurt, I could be sitting on the sideline. I don't know how you interpret that. And I've been saying all along, that if you start making them make tackles around the legs and around the waist, you're going to get what you got in Origin that first couple of minutes, where everyone making a tackle got injured, weren't they? Everyone who got knocked out was making a tackle, not getting tackled. Right? We teach them to tackle upright. We teach them to tackle ball and all. Right? Every now and then it goes wrong. There's a split second. Crichton did enough movement and enough falling in that tackle to contribute to the collision point himself. What is Finucane supposed to do? Wait till he falls and finishes his run before he is allowed to tackle him?
Well, that's what they're saying.
Wait till he runs past him so he can tackle him around the legs?
Well, that's what they're saying.
They have no idea. They have no idea the ramifications of this judgment or the way it's been counselled in terms to justify the decision. Right? They don't know what that's going to do. And we have had tackling techniques. I get bored with this. We've had tackling techniques change over the decades because of rules and interpretations and speed of the play of the ball and other things that have come in when, back then it was actually safer than what we do now. It was less risk of injury, but, let's not go down that path. But what I'm saying is that this is not an unacceptable risk of the game. That is not
part of the game.
It is the game. It is the game. It is the game. All right? Had Crichton not split his ear and was bleeding and had to go off the field, they both play on and we get on with it.
I don't know whether this is a vexed question. Everyone associated...
Is this causing us trouble with that question?
I think... we had to address that one. I'm staggered.
I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. I think it's the most... It wasn't even a penalty on the night. So how can and we know referees and Bunker are trigger happy on all this at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah.
Right? They're pulling blokes off for HIAs that don't need to be coming off the field. It's don't start me on all that. But they're trigger happy. Referees and Bunker are trigger happy. How many times did they look at it on the night?
Well, I can tell you, I called the game for radio with Darryl Broman and Paul Gallen, and when it happened, the crowd went up because it was a Penrith thing. It was a high tackle.
Yep.
And then when the replay came up on the screen, everyone saw it was a head clash.
Yep.
And Gal, who was right in front of it, said it's a head clash, and if they're serious about this, it should be play the ball, play on. And that's exactly what happened. And everyone agreed.
After how many reviews? They had plenty of time to review it because Crichton was getting treated for his ear and eventually left the field when they saw the seriousness of the cut. And that's just a collision industry. I mean, Crichton was fine. He wasn't concussed. He wasn't knocked out. He was fine. It was just that they had to go and treat the ear. But with all the reviews of that, the bloke in the bunker and the ref, have they been sacked this week?
I don't know. Well,
will they be sacked this week?
Well, Ashley Klein's been given the flick.
Well, that's another story. But what I'm saying is...
Yeah, you're saying that's right. Well, what they've done
if they missed
the wrong thing.
If they missed a 3-week suspension that they were able to review a dozen times or over 3 or 4 minutes, whatever it took to get Crichton off the field, then what about those two? And we know they're trigger happy because they have to be.
Yeah.
That's the way the game's gone. So there was no penalty, there was no report, there was no send-off, there was nothing. The bunker reviewed it, the referee looked at it, the referee would have seen the screen, and even with the crowd howling, the home crowd howling, it was,
I think everyone accepted at Penrith that it was an accidental head clash and it should have been play on.
So suddenly the next morning it's a match review decision.
I saw 2 to 3 weeks and nearly fell over when I read
that's impossible. That's ridiculous. And now it's been supported. Well, they go in there and they interview them, interrogate them, and make accusations on what your intentions or what your intentions weren't, or that you were reckless or you were careless or whatever. I mean,
back to my
if that's dangerous, every tackle in the game is dangerous. That's the risk that we accept. You can do knees, you can do ankles, you can do groins, you can do shoulders, you can do necks. We've seen a myriad of injuries. You can get injured at any time in any tackle, whether it's a safe tackle, whatever. Injuries are part of the game. That's an acceptable risk that we take. All right. The physicality of the game, trying to assert your authority, is a part of our game. This is professional football. This is not OzTag on Wednesday nights.
Well, it's
this is
heading
not
that
trying to make the game safe so mum and dad can play, right? Or so 10-year-old Johnny can play. It's not about, this is the professional code. They get well paid, they get well trained, they get well looked after, all right? And this is what they are. These are the players they want to be. You look at all that carnage, right, in Origin, right? You look at all that carnage in Origin and 99% of the public would say, I'd hate to be out there in that. I wouldn't put myself in that. That's unnatural. And it is unnatural, isn't
unnatural.
it? For people to throw themselves at each other like that and be prepared to knock themselves out. That's unnatural, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you know what? There's kids sitting at home watching that saying, I've got to be there. I want to be there. I want to be in that game. I want to go out and prove myself.
I didn't see one person complaining that it was too tough.
Tell me, there are kids sitting there saying, that's where I want to be.
Yeah.
And that's why I want to be there. Right? The 99 other 9%, you don't have to worry about it. You're not the one doing it. But we want to make the professional game safe that, say, a little 10-year-old Johnny can come out onto the field and still play with them. It's ridiculous. I find this to be one of the most ridiculous judiciary things I've ever seen in my life. You know, Stephen Crichton wouldn't be wanting this. He wouldn't have been expecting that to happen to Dale Finucane. He knows what football is. That's why he plays it. He understands it. To say that that is an unacceptable risk of the tackle that he performed is totally, you know the word.
Everyone agrees with the stance around looking after the duty of care of players in relation to that. But hang on a minute.
We don't want to offend someone.
No, let me just... The head injury stuff with the research and whatever, I think people can probably accept that is a step in the right direction. Have we gone too far? Or is that too provocative a question?
I'm not allowed to comment on that.
Right. I mean, I'm just thinking about a couple of incidents at the weekend where there were glancing blows of players who, you know, literally got grazed on a cheek or a chin or something and then got put on report and a penalty. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like again, there's accidental stuff and there's careless eye contact. Do you know what I mean? Like, are we trying to legislate for every single thing now? And is that taking
everything
the
is
game
accommodated
far
under
too
the
far?
rules? You know, be it reckless, careless, intentional, deliberate, whatever you want to. It's all there in the rule book. I don't see any of that in this tackle whatsoever. I don't see any of it in this tackle to say that that was an unnecessary risk he took. It's ridiculous. And I don't know where it goes from here. I don't know what this does to tackling techniques into the game or what sort of game they think this is. Go back and watch your Origins again. Those two boys played Origin, the boys on the committee.
Well, Dallas Johnson, I mean, he put his head in places where it's not meant to go his whole career. He couldn't mean that, could he? Dallas Johnson, he could not mean that.
I can't comment.
All right, 2 weeks for Dale Finucane. Corey Dell got 5. Unless they upheld the eye gouge charge. So, a bit happening at judiciary. Has Kevin Proctor raised the bar on stupidity?
Hold my beer.
Mate, what about that?
What was he doing?
Well, he's vaping, I'm told.
I didn't even know what vaping was.
Neither do I.
But
that's the new thing.
Where was he?
He's in the toilet in the dressing room.
In the dressing room. And he's vaping indoors.
Yeah.
And then he decides to film it.
Yeah.
What for?
I don't know.
To remember the event? But then he decides to post it on social media. And I'm thinking, what the hell? What? I'll just film myself robbing this bank and send it to the police.
I've got to say, Kevin Proctor must be the only
This is what I did today. I robbed this bank today. Hello, how you going? Good. Give me your money. Yeah, good. Well, I'll send that down to the police station. See how they like that.
What about that?
I just cannot believe that. I cannot believe it. He sat on the toilet.
He's filming himself on the Brasco.
He's filming himself on the toilet. And he's shaking his head to his sister. I don't know what he's saying. He might be saying, I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this. But then decided to post it for the world to see.
What about that? And
grade 10 stupidity.
And the Titans have just gone, well, you know what, Kevin, we've been trying to get rid of you all season. Guess what? You're gone.
The final straw.
Yeah. Oh, seriously. That's the
final
best ever.
straw.
David Nofaluma's off to Melbourne for the rest of the year, Gus.
Yeah.
Breaking news. So Melbourne have been trying to find a bit of depth in the outside backs. We know they've been struggling in a lot of different areas, but that's one where they're struggling for depth. So David Nofaluma's been running around for Western Suburbs in the New South Wales Cup. He's going to head down to Melbourne.
Yep.
Good move.
Well, it's
good for Melbourne. Good player. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't see why he's
let me just decipher something here, because we in my job with the Bulldogs, we were also approached for one of our players, and their approaches were very respectful, and when they got their answer, they were very respectful. I got no problem with them asking the question. You just don't know. But I've always been a supporter of the loan system, and we've seen the loan system come into effect during the COVID last year when they were in camps and we didn't have reserve grade players to play. Bulldogs, we got 2 Raiders players in one day. It wasn't the players, it was. There are other teams like the Warriors that needed loan players, and everyone's needed a couple of loan players here and there. And I've always been a great believer of the loan system. There are plenty of times over the years in my roles where I've had a young player in reserve grade who's not going to get any better playing reserve grade, who needs to be playing NRL to improve and get experience, but there is no way to select him. I mean, if you're a young fullback at the Roosters at the moment, there's no way for you to play first grade, all right? Because even if Tedesco gets hurt, they'll play Joey Manu there, or they'll play Suwali there, who are all playing first grade at the moment. So if you're going to be a young fullback at the Roosters system, your pathway is blocked. But if we need you to develop as a player, why can't the Roosters send him to another club and say, if you've got a position for him to play first grade, we'll loan him to you. You can go and play first grade if they need a player. I think where it gets dangerous is because we've moved this timeline back to the 1st of August and it's so close to the finals, I don't think it's right for the game that we get a situation where come, the latter part of July, the top 4 teams start feeding on the bottom 4 teams saying, well, your season's over. Wins don't matter to you. Can we have, your best player?
Yeah. That's
not what the loan system is meant to do.
No.
I suppose anything is negotiable. If in our case, it would have saved us money under the salary cap to let Josh Addo-Carr to go to Melbourne, and that's salary cap space that we could use elsewhere. But I weighed it up against the value of Josh Addo-Carr to the team, the message that I'm sending to the team by letting him go, what I'm saying to our fans who have sat through years of running last in the competition, can't win a game. Now they've got a bloke scoring tries for them. Kids have gone out and bought his jersey and they come to the game with their flag and their Josh Addo-Carr jersey. What am I saying to them if I just let him trot off and play for Melbourne for the back end of the year because they're in the finals and we're not? I think that's I think if you're looking for a loan player, we'll loan you this fella. I'm not going to loan you James Tedesco. I'll loan you, John Smith. He's a good player. He can handle it. He's ready for first grade. It's not about going and buying the players that will suit your side so you can win games and be more competitive.
It's got to be mutually beneficial.
Well, the mutual beneficial start is some saving on the salary cap that you might get if you need salary cap space or what have you. And
experience.
Yeah, but I also think it's detrimental to be saying your seasons is over and your wins don't matter. They do matter. Every game matters. You want your team trying right till the last breath. Your fans are going to come along and cheer for them. They've paid membership for every game. They want to come along. They want to watch the TV and cheer for their team. What am I saying to my team if I let our marquee player go to play with a top 4 side because they're in contention for the finals? Right? Now, if they rang up and wanted a winger, I've got some young wingers there that would love a game in first grade. I'm happy to send those down there and they'd be happy to go. To get 6 weeks in the Melbourne system and be coached by Craig Bellamy and not be playing in park football somewhere in front of 30 people, go down there. But that's something that the other sides would have to accept. But I think it's a bad precedent, at that stage of the year for the top 4 teams to have that mentality that we can just now go and take good players out of the bottom 4 teams because their season is over. So our season is not over.
Of course it's not. Ask the Tigers on the weekend whether a win matters or not. But if a top team wants to borrow or loan a say Addo-Carr, for instance, would they then would his salary then go under their cap for that period?
Yeah.
So they've got to have the space to be able to accommodate.
So I'll tell you exactly. With Josh Addo-Carr, it saved us a significant amount of money on the salary cap if he was to go away. But the way it had to be done was we would have to terminate his contract now. He would sign a new contract with the Melbourne Storm until October 31, and then we'd sign a new contract with Josh Addo-Carr from November 1. to re-register him back in the club. So, to me, I would have thought that's a salary cap. That's a salary cap ploy. If it was actually instigated by us, if we went to the Melbourne Storm saying, "Hey, can you take John Smith for 6 weeks? It's going to save us $100,000 under the cap, and I can spend that on someone else." That's a salary cap ploy. I doubt that the salary cap auditor would even look at that. I don't know why the salary cap auditor would even approve this. You know, I can understand a player shortage, right? But you know, it's a fine line, and it all comes around transfer windows and signing of players a year early and all these types of things where we've got no control over the movement of players throughout the NRL. We've got no control over the negotiating processes. We've got no control over the player managers. So they keep coming up and altering the timeline to suit the game. And I understand this timeline's one because of the COVID situation. You know, and we had our players in isolation. We couldn't bring lower grade players in to train with them. Lower grade players weren't playing football. Right, so a player who would normally be in your reserve grade side or under 20 side has not played for a couple of years because we had no competitions. He's had 12 weeks out. Suddenly you want to bring him into a semi-final and play against the Melbourne Storm or Panthers. That's totally unfair. But if I can go and get a loan player from another club who's at least been training and playing, then that made sense. And we accommodated that because of COVID. Right, the loan system had not really been used before because of COVID. The other loan system was Harry Grant. They sent him to the West Tigers for a year. Why? To play first grade. He wasn't going to get any better playing Queensland Cup or park football. They sent him to the West Tigers for a year and brought him back, and now he's their mainstay hooker. You know, his development was accelerated because he had a year with the West Tigers in first grade. I'm all for that. All for that. You know, my main reason for saying, you know, politely just saying no to the Melbourne Storm was I can't do it because I don't know what message that says to our players and our fans and our sponsors and the people we expect to come to the game to support us for the rest of the year. You know, we're just starting to score a few tries. The club's been through a terrible period. We've been running last for 3 years. Now we're starting to, at least the fans can come to the game and wave their flags, win, lose or draw. You know, they're scoring a few tries and playing a bit better. So why would I interfere with that? And Josh Addo-Carr has been such a marquee signing for the club. He's so popular with the fans and the kids, and I can't tell you. Next time you go to a Bulldogs game, sit down and watch the number of kids walking through the gates and they've got his number on their back.
I agree. Look, I think everyone can understand the Addo-Carr thing. I think Nofaluma is a great example of he's been, for whatever reason, not playing first grade.
Yeah.
So he's probably a great example of someone
at the Tigers,
a lone player.
At the Tigers, they don't need him at the moment. You can have him.
Yeah.
You know, it was just, I think the Warriors got approached for Reece Walsh. Some other clubs got approached for, but they're all pretty good players they got approached for. They were sort of picking who they could get, rather than ringing up and saying, if you've got a front rower there you can spare. If you've got a winger there you can spare. Yes, I've got Matt Thompson. No, he can't play. I don't want Matt Thompson.
No, can't play.
No.
Lost a bit of speed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I look, it's within the rules. Melbourne are entitled to do whatever they like, and it shows the winning attitude of the club. They're not dying down. You know, we're all saying that they probably can't compete for a premiership this year. They're saying, well, we will. We'll go out and make the side as strong as we can. They've had some injury issues and all of that. I've got nothing against them asking the question. I've just got a little bit of a question over the process of, at this time of year, are we going to see more of this top four sides trying to fill that? I mean, Penrith last year grabbed Tevita Pangai Jr. He got sacked from the Broncos, was a different story. But I thought he won them a semi-final last year. If he didn't there, they might have had trouble with the Melbourne Storm. He actually went out there and belted the Melbourne Storm on his own there in the first part of the game.
Well, maybe next year that deadline might go back again if COVID's off the board.
Well, you're getting into a whole different story, mate, about, you know, signing windows and registration of players. And
we've dealt with some heavy stuff today, Gus.
And that's still never been fixed.
Let's not worry about that. Okay.
I don't think this podcast should go to air. I think I'm in trouble over.
I was going to ask you whether we should ditch the bunker for the games without any implications on the finals, but I don't know whether I should. That's
wow, the bunker.
No. Would you like to see that? Would you like to see how the game looks without a bunker for the games where there's no implications on finals?
In games that have no bearing on the final 8, right? In games that have no bearing, I'm sure there are a lot of them because a lot of teams can't make the 8 at the moment. I have no problem with them experimenting with any rules. Taking away the 6 again, taking away the 20-metre 7-tackle tap, you know, taking away the bunker only just for tries. You know, experiment with things that are thrown up as possible solutions to show, well, your solution isn't a solution at all. Your solution made no difference. I'd like to see a game where there's time off the minute the try scored rather than giving them 90 seconds to take the conversion. it would have solved a lot of issues on the weekend. I went through it with the one referee, two referee thing. I think the back end of games, if you can't experiment with rules in lower grade football, in lower tier football, which is where the experiments should go, and it shouldn't be a one-off. It shouldn't be 2 or 3 games. It should be 2 or 3 seasons before you make a decision. In the old days, it used to take years to change a rule. Now they change, from Friday night to Saturday morning. We just, that's a good idea. We'll change that. Well, that didn't work, so we'll have to change that again and put another and then we'll put another rule around that because you've got a dog chasing its tail.
Okay, so the answer is yes. Thanks very much. Let's go to six.
What was
tackle,
the question?
I don't know. 6 tackle trivia for this week is a Who Am I? Haven't done one of these for a while. Our discussion last week about the old scrums and headbutts and all that, people love that. I've had so many people come to me and go, so that.
We got some vision of old scrums. We did a package. Remember Boots and All? Vossi used to do Boots and All. We had some scrum packages. They were lovely.
Jeez, could you imagine if some of them ended up at the judiciary?
Oh, wow.
Oh, Finucane got 2 weeks. The bloke's robbed out for life.
That was the most tiring part of the game, was the scrums.
Who am I? I was born in Bourke, New South Wales, 1963. I played with and against the great Gus Gould. I represented New South Wales and Australia, and I was renowned for my toughness. I played for 2 Sydney clubs, appearing in over 100 first-grade games for both. Have a think about that. I'll go to our little break, and I'll give you my last 2 clues on the other side. Who am I? Born in Bourke, New South Wales, 1963. I played with and against Gus Gould. I played for New South Wales and Australia. I was renowned for my toughness. I played 100 first-grade games for 2 Sydney clubs. My battles with opposing forward packs in the pre-season Charity Shield in mid-1980s helped to cement my legend.
Crikey.
I played my only grand final in the Super League decider of 1997.
So you played for Broncos and Sharks?
No, 2 Sydney clubs.
Well, but he either played for Bronco or Sharks.
Ah, right, yes, sorry.
Yeah. So I'm thinking Les Davidson.
That's correct, Gus. Very good. Very good.
You had me at Bourke.
Well, why'd you let me go on for?
I just wanted to see how many clues there were.
Well done.
No, yeah.
The great Les Davidson, eh?
Yeah.
Tough man.
Yeah, he was. His son's a good player too.
Who's his son?
His son, he's played in the Cronulla system.
Yeah, right.
Played with my son.
Tell me about that South pack.
When I went to South.
The one they all talk about. Like it's hard men. David Boyle and those blokes.
Yeah, so we had a young Ian Roberts who was in his first season, but an extremely tough character. Mario Fennick, none tougher. Les Davidson, David Boyle, Wayne Chisholm, Michael Andrews. But then we had blokes like Tony Rampling, Lindsay Drake, Big Les. Yeah, they were tough boys. Tough boys. I could give a lot of cheek playing with those blokes.
They look after you?
No one's going to lay a hand on me.
I'm glad we got this jumper out too, the Smith's Crisps.
Yeah, great memories. They were great kids. And they were sort of, 3 years after that, they were minor premiers in 1989. They were unlucky not to win a premiership. They were a great bunch of blokes. And George Piggins, wonderful man.
Who'd you have in the back line? Tucker Coleman?
Craig Coleman. Bronco de Jura played 5'8". Neil Baker played fullback.
Yeah.
We had the Moon Brothers, Lester Biles. We had Michael Podgy.
Yeah.
Playing in the centres.
Wasn't a bad side.
It was a good side.
Yeah.
We were one game out from the semis. We were minor premiers. Yeah. We got beat in the last round. I'd fractured my ribs the week before. We beat Manly at Redfern, and I fractured my ribs. So I wasn't much used to them for the rest of the year. But we had some real wars that year. Played some really good football. Beat a lot of good teams. And
what was it like going to Redfern if you were an opposition team back then?
Well, I didn't like playing at Redfern until I was with South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it like walking into a cauldron? I mean, a very small cauldron.
Oh,
Were they mad?
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
mad.
Absolutely. And that's, this goes back to a lot of home grounds and, your fortress and your home crowd, and that's where a lot of people fell in love with the game. And, we tell the fans what they want, where they want to sit and what they want to do, but that close quarters, sitting on the hill, that's what the real rugby league fans really enjoy. It's hard to get away from that.
Les Davidson, big fan of the show.
He was a tough one.
Now, look, I love doing this podcast with you each week, but I reckon I know that we have made it. We have made it.
Why is that?
Because we have an Ask Us question from the most high-profile listener this podcast has heard from. At Junior War 349. The great Mark Waugh sent in a question.
Mark Waugh, yeah. Mad football fan.
I know.
Loves the rugby league.
I know.
I think he's a Bulldog fan too.
Of course he is.
He and Steve.
Played all of his
Steve
cricket
played in
for
a charity
Bankstown.
golf day there a couple of days for the Bulldogs.
Did he? Great to know that you're listening to us, Mark. Gus, surely it's time to stamp out players faking interference, faking dives, and sometimes faking injury. See, he's an ABS man, Mark Waugh.
Yes.
If a player is guilty of this team should be penalised on the spot, and the player should either be sin-binned or sent off or suspended.
Yep.
Good on you, Junior. What do you reckon?
Well, that came moments after the Cowboys
Oh, did it?
Tigers catastrophe the other night. Yeah. I think I answered him on Twitter too. You only get 140 characters to do it, but I didn't want to see the question without it going unanswered. And a lot of the faking and everything we term as gamesmanship. That's been in the game for a long, long time. We're seeing more and more today because it's easier to extract penalties today from referees and bunkers and black and white interpretations around escorting and decoy runners and all sorts of things. So players are playing with the rules all the time. I have no doubt in my mind, I've said this on 100% footy the other night, that Kyle Felt knew exactly what he was doing. He was never going to get to the ball, and we see this happening a lot with wingers now, right? They chase downfield on the bomb, and if they know they're not going to get there in time, or they know they might give away a penalty because of a collision, because now you can't touch the bloke catching the ball. There's no physicality. You can't touch him anymore. You've got to let him make his catch. But if you're not going to get there in time, I'll just run into the back of old mate who's escorting him, fall down, and I'll make the referee make a decision. And there are some referees in this game that are really pedantic with it, Ashley Klein being one of them. If you go back and watch his games where he's the official referee, he probably gives more escort penalties than any referee in the game. So the fact that he was in the bunker the other night, and now given, when you go to the bunker, it's a different rule book. It's a different rule book and a different mentality. All they have to say is, I can prove that I was technically right with this. Technically, he bumped him, he fell over, he couldn't get to the ball even though it was metres away. Technically, I can say I was right. Technically, I can say I was right about the knock. Technically, I can say I was right about the obstruction. Technically, I can say the ball spun in his hand before it put down. Technically, I can prove my point. Therefore, it's a no try, or therefore it's a penalty, or therefore it's a knock on. When that's not how the game is supposed to be refereed.
You started him, Junior. No more.
Yeah, and that's what I said. So what I said to him was, the referees are now given no discretion. They're given no feel of the game to decide whether that's gamesmanship or that's not. So if I try to fake a penalty or run into an obstruction to get an obstruction penalty, or I run into the back of an escort to say I was held out, the referee has no discretion these days to say, "Oh, nah, you're kidding me, that was gamesmanship." All right? They're instructed black and white.
I've seen a few of the refs use a bit of common sense this year,
and they get punished for it.
But if you, I don't want to. I mean, Grant Atkins has done it a bit.
Trust me, and he's a good referee. Yeah. There is a core group of referees that don't agree with the philosophy. They don't agree with the instructions they're being given. They don't agree with the decisions the bunker make. They do not agree with the decisions bunkers are made. They don't agree with them. And there is a number of examples of it during the year where they've actually argued amongst themselves, but the ones that run the referees, they're pretty dogmatic on it. But they don't agree with a lot of the referees' interpretations on different incidences. They would rather have a feel for the game or a feel for what's out there, closer to the action. But once it goes up to the bunker, it's a different interpretation. It's a different interpretation of the rules, and now there is no feel of the game and there is no discretion allowed. Because I'm going to show this to the public 6 times. All I have to prove, even though no one saw it, no one complained about it, no one would have noticed that the ball bobbled in his hand or what have you, magnifying glass there, I found it. Look what I found. Look what I found there. Technically, I'm right.
The answer is yes, Junior. Thank you very much.
No, it's stop penalising and stop using the bunker for all
Should they
that.
be penalised on the spot for diving?
Well, if the referee felt that way, but at the moment they're faking it because they get a penalty.
Yeah.
It's gamesmanship.
Yep.
Stop the penalty.
Stop the penalty.
Stop the penalty. All right, use
Gonna
discretion.
Stop the penalty.
Stop the
Put
penalty.
it up there. Yeah.
Yeah. Send the referee out, no whistle.
Thank you so much for your question, Mark. Well, as you know, I love my cricket. You've got it. If you go on YouTube, I love just looking up little bits on YouTube, cricketing things. A compilation of Mark Wall's catches. Best pair of hands I've ever seen.
His catches, his batting.
Oh yeah, but mate, he's
great cricketer.
He's fielding. Mike,
Great.
He's catching.
What a wonderful
out of this
era.
world.
What a wonderful era.
It's Alan Border's birthday today, by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah. Another great catcher.
That's the era where we grew up, wasn't it? You know, World Series cricket, or I did anyway. And you fell in love with the cricket. Used to love watching the Test cricket. Played cricket as a kid. Loved watching all that. And today it's 20 overs,
20.
50 overs, 3 day
Test cricket's still going okay, though, Gus.
We get 2 and 3 day Test matches.
Yeah. Well, that's the byproduct of the shorter form, isn't it? The way England are playing, they want it over in 2 days.
It's not a cricket podcast.
All right, let's have a look at the round 20. Now, we know that all those blokes... Oh, you're right.
I've got to go to the draw.
All those blokes are out. James Seguiaro is going to play for Manly against the Roosters tomorrow night over at Brookie.
Well, it's an opportunity for a few kids to come in and experience the big time, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So, with everything that's come out of it, there are going to be some excited kids there. They don't care what's happening. They're just going to go out and play. Okay. Well...
Roosters will win.
Roosters will win.
All right. Warriors Melbourne. Big game for this. Big game for Melbourne. Now, this is at Mount Smart. They've got to travel over to New Zealand. They've lost 4 in a row, which they haven't done since 2015. I don't know what happened with Reece Walsh last week. Did they get him on the field at all?
Yeah.
Well, he's back at fullback this week.
Yeah. Look, Warriors got belted by the Storm earlier this year, if you remember. I think it was 70 or something.
Oh, they did too.
They got absolutely lapped by them. So I'd imagine they'll be looking for some sort of resilience and bounce back in front of their home fans. Their only home games so far they've won, and they've picked a pretty good side.
Do you reckon they could aim up against Melbourne the way they're going?
Well, traditionally I think they've got a pretty good record against them, but in that Anzac Day game earlier in the year, I think it was 70.
But they were going a different Storm outfit back then to the one now.
Yeah, well, you keep looking at the names here and you're thinking, well, why not Melbourne Storm? But hard. I would not be surprised at all if there's an upset.
Ooh.
I really wouldn't. I would not be surprised at all. I think, it sounds stupid tipping against the Storm, but if I'd have done it for the last 4 weeks, I'd be 4 better off, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
Actually, I tipped a couple against them, didn't I?
You going to put them out there? Big ones?
I'd rather be backing the Warriors at that price than backing the Storm at that price. I couldn't back the Storm at that price with Paul Gallen's money.
What price are they on Bluebet?
$1.25.
Please gamble responsibly, by the way.
$1.25, isn't it?
Our friends at Bluebet. They
Just
urging
interest.
everyone to
You don't
gamble
have-
responsibly. All right, Friday night footy, Battle of the West, eh?
Yep.
Para, Penrith.
Yep.
Combank Stadium.
Yep.
Oh, they get a chance, Para. I know they've been playing poor, but no Crichton. Robert Jennings in for him. No Luai. O'Sullivan in for him. No Mitch Kenny. Staines in for him. No changes for Para.
No, and look, it's not cliche, and I know we say it all the time, local derby, doesn't matter whether they're running on the table, doesn't matter what the form looks like. It doesn't. Trust me, it doesn't.
This might be the game they need at this stage, Para.
Well, yeah, it's, they did beat them earlier in the year at Penrith. Now they've got them at home. They've got their backs to the wall. They've got people criticising. Everyone's saying the window is shut. If they have any intention whatsoever of making a run at this finals, this is a great game to get your confidence back and get it done. And, Panthers are without a couple of big guns. I can't tip Parramatta, sorry, but I'm expecting it to be close. I think it'll be a true local derby. I think they'll go pretty hard at this. I don't know how they're going to go not being able to run out of the line and hit people hard. You can't run out of the line and hit people hard in defence anymore.
Please. I'll bet you I'll get...
All those old-timers that made their name and their career about running out of the line and hitting people hard.
I'll bet you one thing.
What?
If there's a head clash this weekend, it won't be cited. There'll be no charges.
No, they'll send them off.
I
You watch what happens this week.
reckon what
Did
happened...
they drop the referee and the bunker bloke that was in charge of that?
I don't know.
So if they've missed such a dangerous and deadly injury incident, why weren't they dropped?
You'll have to take that up.
Why has their analysis been accepted but not accepted by
You'll
the
need
match
to take that up
review
with your
committee?
mates at the referees department.
And I guarantee you, if there are head clashes this week, the referees, right, and the bunker will be penalising, they will be reporting, and they will be sending them off the field for 10 minutes. And they will be going to judiciary.
Did you get a memo?
Otherwise, what?
They haven't sent a memo, have they?
No.
Yeah.
I miss all the meetings. They don't invite me to the meetings. But if they don't, then what was last night all about?
Mm-hmm.
So here we are. We're 6 weeks from the semi-finals. We've just got through the Origin series where we threw a few of the rules in the back pocket for a while, just so to make the game entertaining again.
Are you saying there's going to be a crackdown? Are we going to have another crackdown?
I'm not saying the word.
It's a crackdown.
I'm not allowed to say that word.
Oh, not a crackdown.
I'm not allowed to say that word. But referees, bunker, you want to keep your job, that's what's going to happen.
Okay. Gold Coast Titans versus Canberra Raiders, early game Saturday.
Raiders.
Thank you. They got out of jail last week, didn't they? They didn't have any ball early. They didn't touch the ball for the first 10 minutes.
Funny team, the Raider. Funny team.
I reckon they're a good side.
They are. I think they are. They're a funny team.
And they have that favourable draw.
It's very hard to tip against them. I reckon they're timing their run.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, I just get a feeling they've got a good draw.
Yeah.
And I just think, they've been through the hard stuff. They've got some games they should be winning. And they get their footy right and they get everyone healthy.
I reckon they'll make the 8. And I reckon they'll cause a bit of cheek on the way. Right, 5:30 Saturday down in Cronulla. Well, how's this for a clash, eh? Sharkies up against South Sydney. And not all that much to report on the team front. Gus, I'm just having a quick look through here. Daniel Saluka Fafita has been named to start for the first time for South Sydney.
Good young player.
He is a good player. Big unit. They're strong to the point here, the Sharks, where they've got Trindle, Tolman and Ikavalu not even in the 17-man squad on the extended bench.
Yep. Club's
Good
fit.
game.
They're fit and healthy, and they've lost Finucane, which is a loss for them. Shark at the Bermuda Triangle. South Sydney going good. Now they visit the Bermuda Triangle. Will they come out alive? Will they come out in one piece? Will they come out with reputations intact? I've told you about the Bermuda Triangle, haven't I?
Yeah, I've seen it myself.
I didn't know if people believed me in the early days, but now they're starting to think, you know what? The old bloke might have a point there.
I reckon you're underestimating South, by the way.
Do I?
Yeah. I reckon.
Are you tipping them to beat Shark?
I don't know who I'm tipping, but I reckon
Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah,
Shark.
Well, not too many teams come out of there with the points, do they? Saturday night.
Some never come out, mate. They've lost team buzzers down there. Good teams go in and nothing comes out. Sometimes, players, it all falls apart at Shark Park.
Brisbane West Tigers. Billy Walters is back. They're going to give this young kid, now, I think it's Dean. Is it Dean Mariner? Deine, Dean Mariner. Huge raps on him. Huge raps. Another one off the Bronco production line. He's come in to play in the centres this week. They've got a couple missing Brisbane, but they are up against the Tigers who, oh goodness me, I don't know how you get over what happened to them last week.
Well, they've got the game, they were robbed. They got the game ripped off them. They've had to get back on the plane and come home from Townsville all the way to back here, and now they've got to go back to Brisbane, unless they've stopped off in Brisbane and trained up there for the week. Is there any evidence of that?
I don't know, but I would. That's what I'd do.
Well,
it's nice and warm up there.
Yeah, I would. I don't know if they did, but I don't know. I'm going to say Bronco, too important for them at the moment.
The Bulldogs are up to 12th on the ladder, Gus. Are you aware of this?
Under the radar, mate.
You've got a little bit of ground to make the 8, but you're up to 12th.
Lost a couple of players this week. Got one suspended, and Ray Fatala Mariner's out, and he's fractured a rib.
Right.
So we're giving a couple of young players
who's coming for you?
long-awaited opportunity. So Jackson Tapine, who's played a little bit of first grade before, young local junior, and he's been going really well in the reserve grade. And I would imagine he's on debut. Young Harrison Edwards, I think, will come in on the bench. That was the discussion yesterday. So probably Joe Stimson goes into the starting lineup for Corey Waddell, who was named pending the trial last night. But Ray Fatala Mariner really getting back to his best and had a great game last week against the Titans, but he's just got a little rib fracture there. He'll be back in a couple of weeks. No Luke Thompson still. He's still out with effects of a concussion. It's been some time now. Yeah, so anyway, hopeful.
Did you go down to Canberra for your New South Wales Cup game last week?
I watched it on telly.
What about 39 to 26?
I was going, but I just thought I've got to avoid airports. If I drive, it's 3 hours down and 3 hours back in the one day. They were down 22-0 after 14 minutes or something. Yeah.
What
They were down 22-0 after 14, 15 minutes, and I'm sitting there. I said, this is a G-up. Thought they were going to get beat by 80, and all of a sudden we led 38 to 22. They played some good footy when they got some.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It was terrible defence. It was awful, but then their attack was good.
And then Sunday afternoon footy, which will be coming to you from Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. The Dragons, off the back of a good win at this same ground last week, will be taking on the Cowboys. Big challenge for the Dragons, and when you're in that competitive bracket for a place inside the eight, it's important that you try to win some games against teams above you on the ladder. Can they do this? They've got no Cody Ramsey, who got hurt last week.
I wonder mentally how the Cowboys... You know when you're out playing golf, say you're out playing golf, and you hit this terrible shot, right? You skin it, and it goes over the back of the green at 1,000 miles an hour, hits a tree, comes back and goes in the hole. Are you proud of it?
Absolutely.
Are you?
100%.
You're going to cheer and call that and
Bloody oath I am.
How do you go to the next tee? How's your confidence level now? You're just
Sky high.
Sky high.
Because it's my day.
Well, the Cowboys got a birdie they didn't deserve the other day.
Yeah.
See how they feel about it, how they brush up. I think Dragon can win.
What?
Cogra Jubilee, mate.
Dragons.
It has mystical powers. Trust me, Red V on the Cogra Jubilee
Well, they got to win, haven't
has
they?
magical powers. Manly had a few out last week, but they did a good job to win.
So
I think they can, Sunday afternoon footy, Jubilee Oval, the Red V, that big hill will be full of people. Cowboys, I mean, no one there cheering for the Cowboys, I can tell you. Red V at Jubilee.
I like that. Now
Time-honoured tradition.
have a look at this. See, Manly with all those players out against the Roosters.
Yep.
Roosters on 8th in 18 points.
Yep.
Manly 18, Raiders 18, Dragons 18. Sorry, am I right? No, hang on. 20 points. So there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 on 20, right?
Yep.
So if the Roosters win, they go to 22. Then you've tipped Canberra to win 22. Dragons to beat North Queensland 22. That could drop Manly down to 11th. This could be a costly weekend for the Sea Eagles.
Well, they haven't lost yet,
No,
but they probably will.
but based on your tips.
Yeah.
So
I
some
wouldn't be
very
taking
big
my
games
tips
this
to the
week.
bank. So my tips this week are Rooster, Warrior,
Whoa.
Panther, Raider, Shark at the Bermuda Triangle, Bronco, Bulldog, Dragon.
Okay,
A bit of value in all those.
you're not wrong. All right, what are you doing this weekend? What are you calling?
I'm at Jubilee on Sunday for the Red V.
Jubilee. Very nice.
And the Bulldogs, they're also a Sunday at Newcastle, so I won't be able to go and watch that live.
All right, well, enjoy your weekend. Enjoy the footy. Thanks for listening. Another episode of Six Tackles with Gus. Make sure you join us next week. We're out each Wednesday. Look forward to your company then.